This is my #1 barefoot shoe company of 2025. This is Tolos, and I'm going to dive into all the details as to why I have deemed it my #1. Before we jump into the first episode of my new review series, this is a brand Roundup review. This will be the very first one of many to come. I just want to remind you that for Tolos, well, a little bit of an awkward moment real quick. I was in the middle of editing the video that you're currently watching, and there was a mistake with the footage that I personally made. Apologies for that. What I was about to say is you can use my code BarefootWill at checkout for any of the shoes that you're going to see in the rest of this video. It's going to be good for 10% off. Let's jump back to it. So I want to give you a little bit of backstory from the brand itself and from the founder himself. Founder of this company I've become pretty good friends with. His name is Evan. Evan was a former D1 college hockey player. He actually was given, the entire team was given, a pair of New Balance minimalist shoes. This was Evan's first taste of the minimalist shoe world. Now, the New Balance Minimalist, I don't think even exists anymore. So that was his first introduction, and he ended up falling in love with them. So he went down the rabbit hole, very similar to like what I did, and researched the benefits of minimalist shoes. He spent a lot of time in skates, obviously, so giving his feet a break via a wide toe box minimalist shoe was quite an impactful scenario for him. So that kind of sparked his interest, and he started to look into other brands of minimalist shoes. One brand specifically that he ran into was Vivo, and one shoe that specifically caught his eye was the Vivo Primus Lite. Now, just like a lot of other people that kind of enter into the barefoot shoe world, and I will say this kind of applied a little bit more maybe a few years ago, there were not as many aesthetically pleasing options in the barefoot shoe realm. Now we're getting to a point where there's quite a few options, one being Tolos, that offer a shoe that actually looks really good. Back to my story about Evan and how he created the brand, his debut shoe was the Archetype. So he just wanted to create a shoe that, one, performed well, and two, looks good in multiple different situations, not necessarily just the gym, although this is a little bit more of an athletic style, gym style shoe, but it definitely has a good ability to cross over into more casual applications. So that is when he launched the Archetype 1.0. What he did was created a barefoot shoe with a 5.5 millimeter or so stack height, so a pretty thin sole. Nice roomy toe box, but it doesn't look abnormally wide, and I think that is a big thing. Obviously, we have all the rest of the barefoot features, which is going to be zero drop, super flexible. And then one big thing that, so this is the 2.0, this is the second iteration. The 1.0 did have a little bit of a flaw to it as far as fit went. So you'll notice with the Archetype, whether we have the white on white or the black on black, that this is a sock style fit shoe. In the first generation of this shoe, the material that he used in the upper was a little bit more restrictive, and it made the shoe a little bit harder to get on, and a lot harder to get on for higher volume people. What Evan does a great job of is hearing the feedback and applying the feedback from all of his customers in order to continue evolving his shoes into the next generations. So that's exactly what he did in the second generation, and I will give you a little bit of a sneak peek that there is going to be a third generation coming out at some point, probably around the spring or mid of 2026, so be on the lookout of that, just with some additional upgrades that people have suggested. But going back to the second generation, which I think has become one of the most popular barefoot shoes that I've seen, even in the athletic scene. Like I've seen Mac Hollins in the NFL wearing these on the sidelines. I've seen a ton of other NFL athletes wearing these while they are training. And it's because of the aesthetic appeal and the capability of the shoe as well. So getting into the capability, the rubber that's been used on the second generation is a definite nice upgrade. It's got a lot more of that tacky feel that you want, especially during a little bit more lateral and dynamic movements, which this shoe handles pretty well. And the shoe stays extremely secure on the foot when you are doing a little bit more high intensity work. I remember when I was first starting to wear Tolos in the gym, the first generation, I would go to the gym and frequently get questions asked about the shoe. Hey man, like, are those the minimalist barefoot shoes? And I'll be like, yeah, they are. And they're like, well, are they Vivos? I don't think I've ever seen a Vivo like that. And I'm like, nah, it's a brand new brand. It's Tolos. You should check them out. And they're actually a lot more budget friendly than a lot of other barefoot shoes as well. Okay, jumping into the next and latest shoes that Tolos has dropped, there's a really new concept that Tolos has applied to their lineup within the new shoes. And this is the different stack heights within their shoes. So this shoe here is the canvas high in a barefoot sole. This shoe is a canvas high in a transition sole. I want to go over this first because the Soleil is actually offered in both of these soles as well. When I say barefoot sole, this just means that in this shoe specifically, it is just primarily the outsole that you're going to feel. So this is the more minimal sole, it's more flexible. And then with the transition sole, they've actually added a midsole on top of the outsole to create a little bit of additional stack height. The barefoot sole, I've got it written down here, is right at 7 millimeters worth of stack height. So it's a little bit closer to the original the second generation of the Archetype. However, the transition sole is around 13 millimeters, so just under double the amount of stack height. The reason that Evan created these differentiating stack heights is just to ease people into the barefoot shoe world. If you are new to the barefoot shoe world and you're a little bit hesitant due to the lack of sole underneath the foot, then the transition sole serves that exact purpose. It's just a little bit more squishy, a little bit more material between the foot and the ground, a little bit more comfortable to wear on harder surfaces like tile, hardwood, or concrete for that long duration of the day. Once again, the transition and barefoot soles are available on the Soleil as well. So this is the barefoot version of the Soleil. My wife actually has the transition. The same thing applies with the barefoot version. It's just the outsole. With the transition sole, it's just that added midsole to get to that 13 millimeter stack height. I want to go back to the canvas high just to talk about the shoe a little bit more. My preference in the beginning was actually the barefoot sole, but that's what I'm a little bit more used to, right? I'm a barefoot veteran. I love the minimalist feel. However, as I continued to wear the transition sole, I found that it actually took maybe 2 to 3 weeks to fully break in, which makes sense because the sole is just a little bit thicker. I have found that this shoe has become probably just as comfortable for me as the barefoot sole. Which one is my top preference? If I had to choose, I would probably say the barefoot sole. However, this would be super, super close behind. And a lot of people are loving just that a little bit of additional stack height. Now I want to talk about the style of the canvas high itself and why I think this shoe brand has done such a great job of just bringing an aesthetic appeal into the world of minimalist shoes. Look at this shoe. It has got the retro kind of Converse style look to it. It can be worn in just about any setting at all. My wife has this shoe and she wears them constantly. We both wear this shoe to the gym quite a bit. I will say my preference on the transition versus the barefoot sole is barefoot sole in the gym, transition sole if I'm gonna be on my feet walking around town for a long period of time. The toe box on the canvas high, whether you get the transition or the barefoot sole, is exactly the same. Plenty of room, but it doesn't have that super wide look to it. And I contribute that to this nice rubberization at the front of the toe, which also doubles as a nice layer of protection just to keep the shoe a little bit more sturdy and keep it from scuffing when you're kind of dragging your toe in different scenarios. And man, I think he absolutely knocked it out of the park. Overall right now, I think the canvas high is definitely my #1 pick out of the Tolos lineup, but that's not to discredit our next one in the lineup, which is the Soleil. Once again, absolutely knocked it out of the park as far as aesthetic appeal goes. This is a lot more of a casual looking shoe. You've got some nice different little colorway patterns and some suedes mixed in with some ripstop on the upper. You've got a nice plush cushion tongue here that is actually detached just like the tongue on the Canvas High. So you get a little bit more acceptability out of both of these shoes for a little bit higher volume foot, in contrast to the fixed sock style fit that you would get with the Archetype. Once again, just did a great job of keeping the minimalistic style into the Soleil, but being just different enough to where it's a little bit more recognizable to being one of the top aesthetic appealing shoes in the barefoot shoe world. Got a nice roomy toe box once again that is just perfectly kind of hidden with this added suede material right around the edges of the toe box. And obviously with the different sole thicknesses that you can get in this shoe, you're gonna have enough comfort below the foot based off of your personal preference. Now, one personal favorite feature of all of these shoes is how easy they have been to maintain and clean, and the durability of all of these shoes. I have probably run these Archetypes through the washer about 6 or 7 times now. And then after they're out of the washer, I will just set them on top and let them air dry. And they honestly come pretty dang clean to be a white on white shoe especially. And they haven't seemed to lose any of their durability because of my repeated washes and abuse in between those washes. And I've also already washed the white on white Canvas Highs. I've already washed the tan Canvas Highs. I haven't quite washed these Soleils yet, just because I don't wear them quite as often. I'm actually trying to keep these a little bit better shape. I'm trying not to abuse these too much, but I have seen people run these through the washer and air dry them with no problems at all. Something to keep an eye out for the Canvas High models is they are going to be dropping some black colorways come spring 2026. So there is going to be a small wait period for that, but just going with that little bit more simplistic look. Super excited about that. When those come out, I will be sure to post some photos over on my X and my Instagram account, so be looking for that. Make sure to follow me on those platforms. Now, I do want to point out something that is very important for the people that are looking to purchase these shoes. In the Archetype, I wear a 10.5 and it fits me like a glove, fits me absolutely perfectly. And I did go ahead and select the same size on the Canvas High in the barefoot sole and for the transition sole, and those fit me perfectly. Now, in the Soleil, they do fit a little bit differently. So Evan suggested that I go with a size 11 in this shoe, and I am very happy I did, because it fits pretty much identically to the 10.5 in the Archetype and the Canvas High, and the Soleil just runs a little bit more snug. So I went with the 11, and that was a perfect choice. So be sure, if you're gonna order this shoe, that you factor that in. Another really big bonus of this shoe company is how budget friendly it is. When you get into the world of minimalist shoes, it's like, man, how high are these prices going to get? Evan's done a really good job of just keeping the price relatively low. I think the highest price on any of this shoe, just on a normal day without any type of sale or discount, is around $115. But $115 for the Canvas Highs or the Soleil is extremely cheap in my opinion. But Evan's goal is to literally get these shoes on as many feet as possible. And by keeping that price point a little bit lower, I think he's helping create that movement. And I just really respect him a lot for not charging out the butt like a lot of these other minimalist shoe companies are trying to do. So that's going to conclude today's roundup review of Tolos. Once again, I just want to remind you, if you do choose to buy any of these shoes from Tolos, you can use my code BarefootWill at checkout, and that's going to be good for a 10% discount. All right, guys, we'll catch you on the next roundup review. Until then, we'll see you later.